members of the committee for the opportunity to at least discuss the resolution today. Resolution 339 would put the Board of Aldermen of the City of St. Louis on record urging one of our local congressional delegation, as well as Congress in general and the President, to begin the process of withdrawing the troops out of Iraq. St. Louis would join a number of cities that have already passed resolutions like this, but I believe in the state of Missouri would be one of the first to do it.
Okay.
Some of the pertinent issues are pointed out in the resolution. The resolution, the joint resolution, I think it was 11114 of Congress back in 2002 authorized the President to use U.S. forces in Iraq. The resolution is before you. It's actually a resolution urging the cessation of combat operations in Iraq. Resolution urging, pardon me, let me get the correct title of that resolution. They have it before you. House Joint Resolution authorizing use of force against Iraq, and that's in October of 2002. This resolution was had some very specific points in it that they were authorizing the President to do. And to use the forces for. You'll see there in section 1, that's the next to the last page, this resolution points out the requirements for the President. There were several issues. One was that Iraq back in 1991 had entered into an agreement with the UN after the Kuwait incident that they would begin not to use and to further develop biological, chemical, or nuclear weapons, and that they would also begin to cease any support of what they call terrorism and terrorist organizations. According to the information that was provided to Congress, Iraq was in violation of this agreement with the UN. So when Congress issued this authorization, they pointed out those points in the resolution, and on this section gave authorization for several points: to defend the national security of the United States against continuing threat posed by Iraq, and that was based on the information that was provided to Congress at that time, and then to enforce all the relevant United Nations Security Council resolutions regarding Iraq, and those are those points that I mentioned there further delineated in the resolution from Congress. Well, as it turned out, there were no weapons of mass destruction found, no nuclear arsenal, no great and giant arsenal of biological or chemical weapons. None of that was found. But those were the reasons for authorization for the use of military troops in Iraq. And so since that was not found, it's really time to pull out of Iraq. And because of the millions, really the billions of dollars that are being spent, taxpayers' money, when there are major needs in the cities across the country, infrastructure needs, the city, the size and age of the city of St. Louis needs those dollars spent back. Since the war, or since the troops have been sent to Iraq, we have seen a continuous, not only depletion, but reduction in the housing money that's come to the city of St. Louis, the block grant funds, as these dollars have been redirected, particularly into the war effort. You've also seen these dollars being used for heightened terrorist or anti-terrorist supplies and activities and training, while the city's infrastructures are crumbling.
Sometimes it's asking the cities to take the financial responsibility.
Yes, for those things as well. And as chairman of the Public Safety Committee, we see this constantly, that they're also asking for the cities to take on a major portion of that financial responsibility. So with that in mind, this resolution urges Congress and the President to end these operations in Iraq and begin to redirect those dollars back to the cities and the crumbling infrastructures and the many problems that we have in the urban areas and throughout the country. And that's primarily what the resolution does. I do have some individuals I'd like to speak.
Okay. You can sit, stand.
Just real quick, I just looked up. It's over 200 cities have passed resolutions saying that the troops come home. So my name is McPhearson. I am an Army veteran of the First Gulf War. At 17 years of age, between my junior and senior year of high school, I joined the U.S. Army Reserve as a private and left active duty 11 years later as a field artillery captain. I have a 23-year-old son who served a tour in Iraq from September 2005 to August 2006. My family has served this nation from World War I to the current conflict in Iraq. Growing up in my house, my mother taught us loyalty to God, family, and country. She taught us that we have a responsibility to participate in self-government. We must guide our nation and resist our government when it pursues directions that are not good for its citizens. This is why I'm here today. There is little to add to the resolution before you. The U.S. military performed as expected. There are no weapons of mass destruction to find in Iraq. As of today, 3,974 U.S. service members are reported dead and more than 20,000 wounded. We have spent a staggering $5.6 billion while our economy teeters on the brink of disaster. It is also estimated it will cost the war over time. It will cost $2 trillion because you have to take care of the veterans when they return. But what these numbers cannot tell are the personal stories and sacrifices made by tens of thousands of families and service members. There is no way to quantify the loss of life, the loss of potential, and futures of nearly 4,000 people. There's no way to tell the full story of each person who has lost a limb, their eyesight been horribly disfigured. How can one fully share the experience of post-traumatic stress being faced by possibly 30% of returning veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan? There is no way to explain the burden they and the families bear. I know something about the stories. I have met many families of fallen service members known as Gold Star families. I have met many Iraqis. My son is one. I have seen friends that have post-traumatic stress in my family. I also traveled to run this house too and talk to Iraqi families lost loved ones in Iraq. Their pain and suffering are no different than ours. I have had the misfortune to grieve Americans and Iraqis. There are those who tell us that it's all good. The USA there is not an attack on the soil. I answered, I was in New York and I remember the dog myself. The says we're going to attack the U.S. and it is the USA from 9/11 presence in Iraq. Clearly, we get feeling of what's going after the attacks. We now have more hate us and look at us with great suspicion of Iraq. Our safety has not come from the invasion. It is due to the hard work and sacrifices of citizens across this nation who have taken on the burden of domestic security. Our foreign policy is making their jobs more difficult. In this light, I ask you, has this military adventure been worth the lives at the low end of 81,000 Iraqis and at the high end estimates of over 1 million? Over 4 million Iraqis have either left their nation or are displaced within its borders. Is this the price a country that did not attack us must pay? So to close, I, as all of us here today, are here to participate as citizens in our great democracy. A majority of our country believes that the troops need to come home now. It is my responsibility as a citizen to participate in this self-government, and I should support policies I believe are good and work to change those I see as wrong. I am here taking action, and I ask you to take action and support this resolution for the good of St. Louis and our nation. Vote to bring our troops home, and then or send it to the full vote. And then I also ask you to go home and to push our national government to follow our wishes. Thank you.